Hey BookTube, Chelsea the Reading Outlaw here to do the second half of my 2017 best of list. These are the favorite fan fictions that I read in 2017. They span a couple different fandoms. I tried to pick one or two from kind of each major fandom binge I went on this year. I have learned about myself recently that I don't do very well at sporadically reading from multiple fandoms at the same time. So I tend to do more of the deep dive style where there were probably 4 or 5 solid fandoms that I got into this year, but I got into them very, very deeply and spent a good couple months in each one, just consuming fic like some kind of monster. So I did this very similar to the way that I did my best of traditionally published novels list, which is where I just started at the top of my record and just went through them more or less chronologically throughout the year. So the first one I read, and the one that I know for a fact you've already heard me talk about in the one other fan fiction video I did this year, it's A Never Been Kissed by the Hoyden and 20-something. This is a hockey RPF fiction between Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin of the Pittsburgh Penguins. If none of those words made any sense to you, I'm actually going to go ahead and link to the other fanfiction video I did this year, which was a little bit of a fanfic primer that lays out some words and vocab that might be helpful to you to understanding this video. I would re-describe them here, but that would double the length of this video, and it's probably also going to be kind of a long one. So check that out if none of those words made any sense to you, and then hop back over and listen to all the rest of the recs. If you've already watched that video or if you already know what I'm talking about, this fic is so good, you guys. This fic is 170,000 words long, something like that. And it's the slowest burn that I have read this year, but it is so good. By the time they actually get to the point where the relationship is consummating and happening, it is just I was dying. I wish and I may still have screenshots that I sent to Kay the first time I was reading this fic where I was just harassing her for the vicious attack on my emotions that she had orchestrated by sending me a link to this fic because it was so incredibly intense. It's still I am a little bit almost angry because I kind of feel she basically ruined me for all fic ever, but that's not true because there's some really, really great fic on this list. But it is still a touchstone for when I read a thing, I'm but did I love it as much as I loved And Never Been Kissed? So, and I've since reread it, so it does hold up. This was not just blinders of first time reading that sometimes happens to me. I will just get really enamored with a thing, and it doesn't always hold up as well on the second pass, but this one does. The next one I read was when I was really deep into the Hannibal fandom. Oh my god, you guys. Hannibal fandom was such a weird place to be and such kind of a dark place to be, but so delicious and so lovely because the people who love Hannibal, the fandom, are such delightful people, but oh fuck me, is that some dark subject matter. So it was a very existentially uncomfortable time for me during the year. But the fic I'm going to recommend is called Toussaint, and it is actually a chapter in a much larger body, collected fic that's called Ladders, which is about this relationship between Will and Hannibal after the end of the first fic when they basically run away together. That's, I guess, kind of a spoiler, but not really because this is an 11-part series. So I feel it's a little implied. But yeah, this is specifically about Will and Hannibal in Paris on Halloween. It's only 1,300 words long. Eminger, who is the author, just did such a fantastic job that I just wanted to wrap myself up in it like a blanket. It was so fucking phenomenal that I just have read it several times since then, and I really, really loved it. The next 3 fics are from my Stargate Atlantis binge. By the way, I did podcast episodes on most of these fandoms and binges, which I will link to either in cards or in the info box, so make sure to check them out if you want a bigger kind of fandom explainer or more fic recs like these for these fandoms. But okay, friends. So in August, Kay came to visit, right? And it was basically the thing that made 2017 not the worst year of my entire life. But while she was here, she did a crash course primer on Stargate Atlantis, which was this sci-fi show that aired when I was in my fandom dark hole because I was at college and I just was not engaging, and I completely missed it. But it was the fandom that ate all other fandoms, and the show is middling to mediocre at best, but I love it so much with all of my heart because the fic that came out of this fandom is just amazing. There are novel length fics in this fandom that you could easily file the serial numbers off of, and I would be here for that. But the 3 I'm going to talk about specifically are, by the way, everything that I read in Stargate Atlantis was either a Mick Shep fic or a Mick Shep other pairing, like OT3, OT4 kind of situation. Whatever. It was what it was, guys. I make no justifications. But the first one is Crimes Against Humanity by Separus. This one, you guys, is another one that's super fucking dark. This is basically a fic in which Atlantis is basically like a max security prison, and all of our favorite cast members are prisoners who are there because they have committed super heinous atrocities or crimes of war or crimes against all of humanity. This fic has one of my favorite sex scenes that I read in any fic this year, and that is saying something. But it is super dark, and it's can be super triggering, so I'm actually just gonna go have you read the fic and read the tags, because so I don't want to talk about it here. But holy fuck, you guys, holy fuck. If you've read it, please come talk to me, because I have a feeling you probably know which one I'm talking about. The next one I'm going to recommend is called Freedom's Just Another Word for Nothing Left to News by Skenectashik. I am still not entirely sure how to say that name. I'm completely sorry for butchering it, but you guys, okay. So I'm really bad at reading. Like, I'm really bad at picking up on, like, details that make it important to realize what's actually happening in terms of the plot. So I didn't realize when I started this fic that the whole thing about this fic is that John is dead. Like, this is a future fic in which John and Rodney have been together, but John is dead. So Rodney is living his life without John. I didn't know that. I didn't realize that when I was reading it. So I lost my goddamn mind when it all finally clicked together. It is still a hard thing for me to talk about because it made me super, super emotional. This fic is really sad. It's very contemplative. It's very quiet, but it is super emotional. Made that much more so for me because I didn't actually realize what was happening until it was too late. And had I known going into it, at least I would have known going into it what was going on. So yeah, that is just a fic I have a lot of hard time finding good words to use in a coherent sentence to talk about. And then the next two I'm going to recommend are both by Rage Proofrock. I love Prue. I read a bunch of Prue fic this year. I could easily have just made all of this video like my top Prue fics from the year, but I'm going to specifically talk about these two. The first one is called Hindsight, and it is an AU in which John plays a cop, and he is in no way involved with the Air Force or flying airplanes, and the melancholy that he feels because he can't fly airplanes is like the thing that makes that fic stick in my heart like a dart of sadness, because John just wants to fly planes. John just wants to be in the sky. But it's super good, and Prue writes such great Rodney, and the banter between Rodney and John is always so great with Prue. The next one is called Ladies' Night at the Boom Boom Room. Oh my god, you guys. So this is actually the first in like a series of fics, and it starts when Rodney goes into a strip club to talk to a girl he's like kind of dating to see if she'll go to a wedding with him, and instead he meets John at the bar, and then John strips, and I died. The noise that I made when he gets up to do the striptease actually legitimately terrified both my husband and my dog. That's how good it was for me when I got to that part. I have actually read this one multiple times as well. I've read most of the things on this a bunch of times, but it's a really great first installment, and actually the whole series, the Bell Curve series, does a really great job of kind of looking at various stages of the John and Rodney relationship. But that first one just starts off with such a bang, no pun intended, and it's so good. And when she brings it back around to that in the final fic, it's just, it's beautiful. I love Prue. Prue works magic. And then, okay guys, I'm sorry. The last two fics that I have to talk about are from the very, very deep spiral of SVU fanfiction I have fallen to in the last month. Basically from about my birthday on Thanksgiving to now, and I don't see it ending anytime soon. I have been reading nothing but the trashiest and most irresponsible Barisi fic published on the archive. All of it. And a large portion of it is not great, you guys. Barisi is the basically like a fic portmanteau for Sunny Carisi and Raphael Barba, an SVU detective and the ADA on SVU. Guys, I don't know where, I do know where this came from. It came from Kay, but I don't know where Kay got it, and I don't know why it stuck to me like a fly to fly paper, but it's just, I can't get out of it. It's the suits, it's the vests, it's the snide comments, and it's the fact that Raul Esparza could literally just stand there and do nothing, and I would pay money to see it. It's all of those things wrapped up together, because the SVU writing is not good, and the SVU plotting is not good, and some of the fic is really not good, but here I am shoveling it in as fast as I can get to it. Which is all a preamble for the last two fics that are on my list that I'm going to recommend. The first one is Decide on Me by Human Female. This is a soulmate soul bond AU, which is usually not at all my thing, but this one just, it hit me in all of my feeling spots. And this is basically an AU in which the SVU is kind of trying to basically establish and prove a precedent for the fact that it can still be considered rape even if you have a soul bond with another person. Just because you're that person's soulmate, if they don't consent to having sex with you, it's still considered rape, which in the culture and in the world created is like a thing that they get into. But turns out Sunny and Barba are soulmates, and they don't realize it, and then they do, and there's a huge cliffhanger, and it's super, super like deeply angsty and emotional, which just really was where I was at around the time of my birthday, which is when I read this fic. But it's so good. It was one of the first I read in the fandom. It became one of my favorites almost immediately. Kind of like I Never Been Kissed. It's been one of those fics that as I'm reading my way through this fandom, I'm asking like, okay, but does it stand up to that? And the prose is not necessarily super outstanding. It's not necessarily like the best thing that I've ever written, but for my feeling parts, it was so satisfying. And then the last one I read, one of the most recent ones I read, actually just came out right before Christmas. That was the most delightful holiday read. And it's called The Most Magical Place on Earth by Robin Hood or KJack89. And it's just what it sounds like. They go to Disney World. Raphael goes with Olivia and her son Noah to Disney World, and they just happen to run into the Carisi family, who are all there on like this huge, big, loud Italian family vacation. And it's so good, guys. There are fireworks, and they go on dates at Epcot, and they have smoochings, and it's really awesome. It's a little bit more mild on like the sexual content than a lot of the things I really love in this fandom, which get super explicit and really porny. But this one was just like really delightful, and it's really cute and sweet. And I have it on good authority from somebody who worked as an intern at Disney that it holds up as far as like the Disney aspect of things. So that's always fun. But yeah, that's 12.5 minutes of raw footage about the best fanfic that I read this year. Please let me know down below if you guys read across any great titles, if you are just starting to get into fanfic, or if you have any 2018 fanfic plans, reading, writing wise, let me know down below. I'm always here to talk books and fic with you lovely people. And until next time, take care of yourselves. Bye.